Hi students, and welcome to week 4 in Lifespan Growth and Development. I hope that you had a great last week. If you were one of the students that returned to face-to-face classes, I hope that was a very smooth transition for you. I know that most of us are probably doing a hybrid. That's what I'm doing. So I'm only teaching one general psych face-to-face class, and then my 4 other classes are online. So I bet some of you are probably in that same boat. So I hope that you're getting that all figured out and that it's treating you well. If you are continuing to stay remote and online, I hope that's going well for you as well. So let's look at this week. This week we are moving on to chapter 4, which is the first 2 years, same time span you were in last week with chapter 3, except this week you'll be learning about all the psychosocial parts of development. So here comes that psychological piece. We looked at the body and growth and physical traits of the first 2 years of life. And now here we are with the same time span, but looking at psychosocial development. So you have your lecture slides right here. In this chapter, you are going to start with learning about emotions. So if you are a parent or a sibling, or you are around young children that are 0 to 2, you know how difficult this emotional piece is. So about this age range, especially as we get closer to 2 years old, humans start feeling our emotions. So whether that's anger or happiness or frustration or fear, right? All those emotions. But at that age, we don't know how to articulate. You're not going to hear a 1-year-old say, you know, I'm really frustrated with you because you won't let me play with that toy. So this chapter will teach you how those emotions are shared. And I think it can be really helpful if you are currently or in the future going to be dealing with a very young child, because you can start understanding how to interpret those emotions and what those nonverbal sharings are, right? Even us as adults sometimes have a hard time putting words to what we're feeling. So we can't expect that. The brain isn't there, the language acquisition isn't developed enough to be able to express emotions. So I think you'll really appreciate and start having a little bit better insight. I know it's still hard, but into the terrible twos. So this is that emotion piece of the chapter. The chapter then goes into things like mirror recognition. So at what age a child looks in the mirror and is like, oh, that's me, you know, and we start having this sense of self-awareness that comes with that. You'll also learn about temperament and how that is innate, that we are born with a particular temperament. So the chapter goes through the different types of temperaments that have been researched. And I think that'll give you some insight, again, into dealing with others and why some kids just have a really laid back, easy disposition and others are just high strung and they don't have a reason to be. But it all goes back to that temperament. And then this chapter goes into Ainsworth was a developmental psychologist who studied attachment. So you'll look at her famous study done on strangers and the different types of attachment. So you'll look at secure attachment versus, you know, avoidance and so forth. So it's very interesting, and it'll teach you about things like separation anxiety and why children cling to their caregivers, and that's actually a sign of, you know, I trust you and I feel good about you. And then you'll take towards the end of the chapter, a look at, here comes Freud, guys. I always say buckle up tight, especially this time around with Freud, because you will learn about his psychosexual stages of development. And if you remember from General Psych about Freud had some very out there theories with his psychoanalysis. And this is probably one that has the most distant about how maybe off base he was. So in this part of the chapter, you're going to learn how Freud believed and theorized that at each stage of the lifespan that we have a preoccupation with a part of our body where we receive gratification from. So since we're in 0 to 2, here in this chapter, you'll learn about the oral stage. So I'm just warning you, it's a little different, but it's Freud, so we should expect that. And then you'll look, of course, at Erikson's theory during this stage, which is trust versus autonomy. So, trust is developed very early on. If I am an infant and I am crying because I have a need, and you do not come fulfill that need, I'm hungry and so I'm crying because I'm hungry, and a caregiver doesn't take care of that need, Erikson believed that distrust comes very early on. However, if when I have a need, my diaper is wet or I'm uncomfortable and you come soothe me or give me a bottle, that I will develop a sense of trust. So Erikson really kind of lays out where that idea of trust comes into play early on in life. And then his autonomy piece comes closer to 2 years old, the toddler stages. And autonomy is all about, and if you know a 2-year-old, this is when they want to start doing everything on their own, right? No, I do it. But it's an important part of development, according to Erikson, that a child has a belief that they can handle things and they can do things, where if they have a caregiver that's doing everything for them, then they will not, according to Erikson, develop this sense of autonomy, that I can do things on my own. And that'll play out later in life. And then lastly, in this chapter, there's a little section overlooking at daycare and the pros and cons of daycare, the disparity between, good daycares versus bad daycares. I don't like to say that. That's not professional terms, but in a nutshell, that's what the chapter will look at. So I hope that you enjoy the content of this chapter. So make sure you read chapter 4 in your book, look over the PowerPoints, and then of course you'll have your quiz due on Sunday night over chapter 4. And you also have a journal due this week. I'm really, I've commented individually to you guys about your journal number 1, and I won't make public comments about those, other than I just really appreciate your insight. I can see that you're thinking through on these journals. I can see the thought process back to the content that you're studying in lifespan growth and development. So keep up the great work on journals. Journal number 2 is about your earliest memories, and what kind of memories were those, and how do they impact you even today? And I after reading chapter 4, read chapter 4 first, then do the journal, because I want you to connect what you're writing in your journals back to what's happening in the 0 to 2 psychosocial stages. So you can start seeing the connections between your own life and the theories or the studies or the psychological understanding that you're learning about in this stage. So have a great week. Make sure you get those activities completed. I'm going to talk more about this on the next video, but I do want to preview and just let you know that not this week, but next week, so due on September 26th, you are going to have your first lifespan project assignment. And I say that, and why I'm previewing it is because you're going to need to, if you can, do an experiment with a child. So if I'm just going to pull this up real quick here. Again, I don't want to confuse you. It's not due this week, but I just want you to start thinking about it for next week. So you're looking for a child, preferably 2 to 6 years old. It's okay if they're a little younger. It's okay if they're a little older, so 1 to 7. But Piaget did his study 2 to 6. So that would be the range. But again, if you know someone who is a little outside of that, that's okay. And you're going to replicate a classic Piaget experiment, which is the conservation of liquids. So all you're doing is you're going to have to measure out some liquids in some different shaped containers and ask the child how much or which one has more in it, and just kind of record what you found. You can take, with parents' permission, you can do a video of this and turn that in. You can take pictures and include them in this. So, or you can type it up, whatever works for you. But I just want you to let you know that this is coming. If you absolutely are having, and this can be done over Zoom or FaceTime. You don't have to be sitting with a child. I think it might work better so that there's less distraction because we're talking about very young children here. But if you absolutely have run into a situation where that's not doable, please reach out to me and let me know. We are still in a pandemic. Obviously, we want to be safe and respectful. Again, think about doing it over FaceTime. But if you just don't know a child during this age range, please reach out to me individually. And I will let you know what you need to do in that situation. Okay. So again, not due this week, due September 26th, but I just want you to start thinking about this experiment and getting a child, again, due the 26th, so that you'll be ready to go next week and get that done. And of course, that will be over chapter 5. So you'll read about the experiment in your book. I also really encourage you, I'm going to post a video of someone else doing it just as an example so you can see that. Have a great week. If you have any questions, let me know. Take care, everyone.